I attended another Scream Unseen on Monday, and it turned out to be Send Help, which I wouldn't classify as a horror, but Odeon clearly does. Here's my review. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content as well as movie reviews here on this channel every week. All of my movie reviews are spoiler free, and I will leave a playlist of recent reviews linked up above in case you are looking for something else, in case Send Help is definitely not your vibe. So yes, like I say, this was a Scream Unseen. So these are horror films where you don't know what it is going into it, and if you're not a Limitless member like me, they're £5 to go and watch. They are opposed to the Screen Unseen films that Odeon shows, which are also £5, but they are not horror films. It's only Scream Unseen that are the horror film ones. So you can go into a Screen Unseen knowing that it's not going to be a horror film because they have a whole separate thing for that. Anyway, Send Help. My interest had been piqued because I'd seen a lot of things on social media. I think when they've been publicising the film, they've gone, right, let's do a thing with TikTok for this. We're going to have some people come down and interview and watch the film and talk about the film. So I'd seen some interviews with some people that I follow on TikTok. I thought they were interesting. I really like Rachel McAdams. I'm a big fan of the film The Family Stone, and I love her character in that. I love Amy. The fact that she's a teacher and like she's as grumpy as a teacher should be, and gets like so cross when she doesn't have the coffee, and yeah, all of that. I vibe with her in that. Obviously, love her in Mean Girls as well. Who doesn't love a bit of Regina George? Watching this, really bad watching this, I was sat there going, oh, I should watch Mean Girls again, because I've seen the musical more recently than I've seen the film. So anyway, I digress. So love her in this. The other guy who was in this, I forget his name, but I'd last seen him in The Maze Runner when I watched that to make a book versus movie. So I don't know if I ever made that on this channel. If I did, I'll link it up above, but he was much younger then. But I thought he was fab. He was quite sort of magnetic to watch on the screen. I think his face must be like uber symmetrical, and that's why, or like not. I can't remember which one we're most drawn to. But yes, premise is she, works in corporate America. She does all the grunt work for her bosses above her, who are, your sort of typical younger males who are power hungry and show their status with what they wear. All of that bit is quite sort of pantomime at the beginning, just how bad she has it. Basically, the fact that she does all this work and there's no thank yous, the fact that she, puts in the extra time and goes through the routines and is, a couple of weeks ahead on her work, we've all been there. And all the thanks that she gets for it is being passed over for promotion. So new boss comes along, he's like, oh, basically that's just like, let her come on this job because she's got the knowledge for this job, and then we'll get rid. So they are on his jet, or they've chartered a plane to go to the Philippines, and basically the plane goes down. So up until the point where the plane goes down, there is like no horror whatsoever, not even a sense of mild peril, as the like film classification might say. But then when the sort of plane accident happens, that bit's really quite thrilling. Long story short, she's basically the only one wearing a seatbelt. I think even at the beginning of it all, her boss isn't wearing a seatbelt, but they end up like the only two survivors on a desert island. This is not spoilers. This is the premise of the film. So they find out on the plane ride there, has auditioned for Survivor, because she has all this extra time in her hands because she's very quick at doing her work. So it's not like she has to do extra work in the evenings. She's learned all these survival techniques. She likes reading about like different plant species and different bird species, and like how to make fires and how to do knots. And so she is the ultimate person that you would want to be washed up on a desert island with. But the trouble is neither of these people trust each other. So she genuinely is like a nice person, and when he's a bit injured, she helps him and she builds shelter over him, and she builds a shelter for the two of them. She forages for them, she cooks for them, she makes sure that they can survive. And then that's where things start to get a little bit darker. So although things get a little bit darker, there is still a lot of humour in this film. And from what I've read online, it is described as a bit of a horror comedy. I don't think it's like a dramedy where you can say it's a horror-dy or a comma. But basically, yeah, that's where things start to get darker, and there are some quite gory or bloody scenes, and there are, you're kind of like, you're on edge as well. However, there are some moments where the entire cinema was really quite full. The entire cinema was laughing. And I think that that's just a marker of a good movie. Like when you've got a really quite full cinema and the entire cinema is laughing, brilliant. I thought that their performances were great. However, there's definitely some questionable CGI in this. The plane crash CGI wasn't too bad, but there are some moments in this where you kind of got almost like the setting of the island looks like too perfect, like it is an actual Survivor film set. Or there are some, you know, there's some wildlife on the island, or there's some like things that they're doing with like leaves and things like that to kind of set themselves up, and you're like, this is really quite cartoonish CGI. It feels a little bit video gamey at this point. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. It's probably a film I would watch again. However, I don't think it would feel the same again because the suspenseful moments I would know are coming. I think that if you are going to watch this one, you should watch it in the cinema, because I don't think things with like horror, suspense, stuff like that really work as well at home, because you're not fully focusing. You know, you'll be focusing on your phone or on a job that you're doing, or making the dinner, or sorting the washing, or speaking to somebody else at the same time. And so I think that this one, if you're going to see it, it does have to be seen in the cinema. Plus you get the extra sound of some of the gorier moments, which can be really gory and add to the gore. So should you pay your cinema going money to go and see this one? I think if you're okay with a bit of horror, so not like Scream level, Friday the 13th, Halloween type horror, but just a bit of horror, almost thriller, I would say, with a bit of added gore, then yes, I think you should absolutely go and watch this one. I really enjoyed it, and like I say, I think it would be best viewed on the big screen. I think the amount of times that I related to the main character, or the amount of times that I laughed, it is a bit of a one of those for everyone films, as long as you're okay with that, like a little bit of danger element to it and that little bit of suspense with a bit of gore in. So that is my verdict on that one. As always, if there is a particular film that you would like me to go and watch this week and come back and speak to you about next week, please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future movie reviews or bookish content coming your way. And I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.